Hello, everyone, and welcome to the EveryDay Podcast, aka EDP, which is your gateway to the casual side of business. I'm your host, Matt Esposito, and I'll let our wonderful co-host remotely introduce himself.
Hi, I'm your wonderful co-host, Andrew Sadikov, and today I'm speaking to you all the way from the campus of Rowan University.
And we also have a couple other guests on today's episode. First off, returning guest, Joe Basile.
Good to be back.
And Joe is a business development specialist, as you guys know, at both ED and EDS, and a new face to the podcast. Joe, why don't you introduce the new face to the podcast?
Yes, our new director of new business, Mr. Kevin Harrington. Kevin, thank you for being here today.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's great to be in here. It's my first podcast, so we're definitely going to have some fun.
Absolutely. And today's episode is titled "The Future of the EveryDay Brand." So we're going to be talking a little bit about each entity in the EveryDay brand, including the podcast. Just going to kind of give some insight as to what the next couple months and years look like and what we hope for everything to kind of form into. So let's move on. So if you guys haven't checked out last episode, which was episode 11, we've actually got probably the best feedback on episode 11 than any other episode. Very interesting. We had Nick D'Ambrosio of Big Splash Graphics on. He also owns a couple other businesses. And Andrew and Joe, I'm sure you guys can be in agreement that was a pretty cool episode, getting to know his story and just him as a person and his journey as an entrepreneur.
Yep.
So for the audience, if you haven't checked that out, then be sure to do so. Just a general podcast update. Let's talk about the giveaway for a second. So we were going to choose someone on the episode, but we decided to give it a little bit more time because we were supposed to post it a couple weeks before we actually did, just because we had some delays. So we're actually going to announce the winner next Friday. So you're seeing this on the 16th. We're going to announce the winner. Oh, no, you're seeing this on the 13th.
You're going to be seeing this on Friday
the 13th.
The 13th. So on Friday, November 20th, check our Instagram page. We will decide a winner then.
And that's for both of the gift cards. So there will be two separate winners, unless the same person wins both. But and all the giveaway details are on our social media post. And if you have any questions, feel free to direct message us. All right, moving on to a topics breakdown for today's episode. So first off, we have the EveryDay brand breakdown. We're going to talk about our new headquarters. And the next thing we're going to talk about is favorite episodes from season 1. So we'll each kind of talk about our favorite episode, and then we're going to talk about our out-of-state plans. So first off, let's go over the EveryDay brand breakdown. Joe, would you like to kind of start off with ED and kind of some of the main points of what we're looking to, focus on in the next couple of months and years?
Sure, absolutely. Well, as most of you who are listening know, that as a business development specialist, I work in the sales department, and Kevin, who is our director of new business, he is the head of the sales department. So one of the big things going forward with EveryDay Espo is we're going to be relying heavily on our sales department to continually get some new business and go for some larger clients, not necessarily like mom and pop shops only, but hopefully trying to get a couple of corporate accounts, which I know, Kevin, you and I have been talking over this week, and we're going to be talking over the next couple of weeks, trying to develop a nice game plan. And I know you've been doing a great job so far, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen next with that.
Kevin, would you like to add into?
Yeah, look, I think what we're all trying to do here is we're trying to all pull together and try to make sure that we can grow the company, and that means branching out into maybe some other areas, some other verticals that maybe the company hasn't got into yet up to this point. But I think that there's a capable team here, and everybody is pretty much striving towards the same goal. So I don't really think that, it's something that is, out of reach for us. So, Matt, I know that you said, you have some, long-term plans for that and for the company, which is great. And I think those are all just kind of starting to come together right now. And we're kind of in the first step of moving in that direction of, just expanding the client base of the company and just, kind of bringing everything to another level.
Absolutely. Well said. Which leads us into our next point, which is the focus to build our portfolio. And that was our main focus, from the creation of our LLC. And now we're kind of moving into, trying to get access to these bigger projects, these bigger clients that Joe and Kevin touched upon. And I know Andrew can speak about this too. Our main point was just building our portfolio, but now we're going to utilize the extensive portfolio that we have to really show the world what we're capable of and be able to gain new client relationships and projects from that. I don't know, Andrew, I'm sure you have something to add about that, because that's been a topic that you have discussed, throughout the first
Absolutely.
2.5 years.
So, yeah, definitely. This whole podcast had caught Everyday Expo at a very interesting stage in our company, because going all the way back to episode 1, and just looking at how much we have come in the 12 episodes that we've released, there has actually been a lot of internal things that have changed. And although it may or may not be obvious to the viewers, it's very obvious to us. And when we first started this podcast, it really was us and the small business that we were working with, a freelance team, or a team that came from freelance, and obviously smaller projects, getting our foot in the door with marketing, all that stuff. But we've been very fortunate, despite the efforts of COVID-19, to see really great success, and we're starting to move in a direction where we really are expanding our portfolio into bigger projects, like what Matt said. And a lot of this just means bigger budgets, more interesting kind of opportunities, an opportunity to work, with a creative director that really directs a set, or an opportunity to launch a campaign that has multiple variables on multiple different platforms. A lot of the times, a small business like the ones that we started with doesn't need such extensive marketing as what we're able to produce now. So really, we're moving into a bigger businesses, bigger projects, and it's very exciting for us. And with that is obviously going to come a much bigger, more interesting portfolio. It's one thing to have a compilation of very pretty videos, or very, great statistics, or social media accounts, but it's another thing to be able to say, hey, we worked with these really big companies on these projects with multiple, other partners and stuff like that, and really be able to show off everything that we're able to do.
Absolutely, and that moves us into our next point, which is that we're going to be diving into different verticals that we necessarily, have not been involved to much capacity in before. And I'll let Joe and Kevin kind of talk about this, but we've really kind of been focused on food and beverage, car dealerships, and real estate. But now we're really trying to dive into educational institutions, health and wellness, financial, legal, all different types of verticals to kind of diversify our client type and the portfolio that we have. Joe, you have anything to add to that?
Well, besides diversifying the types of clients we have, fortifying the relations that we have within the industries we're already working with has been one of the things of utmost importance, at least for me. And the main industry that I have been searching for new clients has been car dealerships, because our work in that industry will speak for itself. If anyone has seen our commercials that we've done for Circle Hyundai, or our vehicle walkarounds that we've done for Circle BMW, and most recently with Seacoast Chevrolet and Gold Coast Cadillac, our work, and I'm sure, Andrew, you could back me up on this, our work speaks for itself. And
absolutely,
the capabilities that we have with regards to our other services, it's just building upon that in that industry and getting more of our services into the verticals we're already working with. And real estate especially is another one. The amazing video we did for the realtor Viet. I've been sharing that video with almost every realtor and person in the real estate industry that I've gotten the chance to talk to. And while that is a vertical that we've worked a lot in, it's something that over the next few months, not only diversifying our portfolio, but also fortifying the verticals we already have is something that is incredibly important, and that's something that I'm looking to continually do.
Absolutely. Kevin, you got anything to add?
Yeah, I think that when it comes to, digital marketing, and it doesn't matter what aspect of digital marketing you're talking about, it's just a whole different universe than it comes from traditional things that more on a linear basis. If you're talking about businesses that advertise on traditional channels such as radio or television or print or billboards. I mean, digital marketing has got such a wider breadth, and when you're talking about traditional channels, you're really looking at just kind of focusing from an agency standpoint, looking to bring in clients. You're really just looking at it from a B2C situation,
right.
Business to customer situation. But when you're talking about digital marketing, your horizons can expand exponentially, because we're talking about, B2B people, business to businesses. They need to market themselves to their potential customers. So the world is just, kind of opens up to you when you're just talking about these things, and there really aren't any limits. So it's that's the thing to me that's most exciting, is that you can kind of branch out in kind of any direction that you want. Because even if you're talking about someone who owns a factory and is talking about manufacturing PVC pipe, I know that's extremely boring stuff, but I mean, they have customers. They need customers. They need to connect with suppliers and other manufacturers, and all businesses need other things from other businesses, and everybody is doing that stuff online. And even more traditional businesses that didn't really kind of work in that space, or they have to move into that place, because that's where everything is going. Everybody's doing everything on their phones. Everybody is doing everything remotely, on the go, multitasking. So I mean, there's just an endless amount of opportunities out there. And you just have to kind of look at everything and through its own particular lens, and kind of focus on that, what might be, maybe this might not be something that's completely traditional from what you thought who our customer could be, but our customer can be virtually anybody.
Absolutely. So speaking of lenses, making the transition to Everyday Studios, Joe, would you like to introduce the audience to the 2 taglines that we now have for EDS?
Well, I know for a fact that the one that we wrote down in the notes, interesting you bring up lens, one of the taglines for Everyday Studios is Life Through Our Lens, and the other one, likewise to Everyday Espo, having multimedia and marketing. For Everyday Studios, it is events and entertainment.
That's correct.
Yep. And we're really excited about the new launch for EDS, which is essentially to what Robin is to Batman is what Everyday Studios is to Everyday Espo. I think that's a good comparison, don't you think?
That's a pretty good comparison, yes.
So essentially, Everyday Studios takes our photo and video services and applies them to the personal markets. So weddings, proms, sweet 16s, graduations, or any type of party that would need photo and video. We're the guys to go to.
Even fashion, sports,
Yep. Also,
family,
there's so many different avenues within the event and entertainment space that we'd be able to go, and as far as getting a bunch of new business with. And of course, it's important to realize that not only are we finished with the launch, basically.
Pretty much, yeah.
But it's only the beginning. And
absolutely.
The only way we can look for right now is up.
Absolutely. And just so the audience knows, when Joe says we're finishing up the launch, we're basically just finishing up the website and getting all the onboarding done. So we're pretty much to the finish line, which is technically the beginning line. But we have a lot of exciting stuff coming up for that, and you can check out the new social media handles for Studios, which is Everyday Studios FB for Facebook, and then Everyday Studios IG for Instagram.
It's also worth noting that we did change up the handles for Everyday Espo as well. So with Facebook for Everyday Espo, it's Everyday Espo FB, and for Everyday Espo, it's Everyday Espo IG.
I really like the IG, the FB. That's why I kept with it.
Yeah. I think podcast, when talking about, we'll get into EDP soon enough, but our social media handles, it's interesting how one of our newer entities inspired the trend for the social media handles for our own marketing efforts. I think that's interesting.
Absolutely. Which leads us into our last point for EDS, which is, for our ED, we kind of talked about how we're going from building our portfolio to, bigger projects and more client diversity. Now we're switching back with EDS. It's the opposite. Now we're going to focus on building our portfolio and building our network, as Joe kind of touched upon.
It's more or less finding different companies in the event space that we'd be able to work alongside. Whenever it comes to having an event, especially a wedding, for instance, there's a lot of different factors that go into it. For example, you need to have a florist to design the flower arrangements for the tables. You need a caterer to bring food to the event. You need to have lighting and sound if there's going to be a DJ there. And of course, the service we can provide, photography and video production, if someone decides to go the video route as well. But most importantly, photos.
Absolutely. All right, so moving on to the Everyday podcast. So first and foremost, Season 2, we've confirmed that we're going to do another 12 episodes at least, thanks to the great feedback from season 1. And we're going to be putting more of an emphasis on, having as many guests as possible. I know it's extremely interesting for me and Andrew to sit there and talk, but we really want to start telling people stories. Some of the best feedback that we had from season 1 was the episodes where we had some of our clientele on there, like Barter Saves, Tuxedo Den, Big Splash. So we're going to, kind of follow that feedback and continue to put an emphasis on having more guests on the episodes. Joe, I don't know, or Andrew, I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
Andrew, why don't you
Right,
go
no,
first?
exactly. As much as we want to share our story, it's also great to hear the stories of others. And, we're very blessed to have a platform that other people are both able to, take advantage of as far as presenting themselves and take advantage of as far as learning something new. And we're going to utilize it as best as we can.
Absolutely.
I guess just to build off of that as well, it's interesting for me working in sales because I interact with a lot of different types of business owners, and also with the podcast, what I've been doing at a lot of networking events and coffee connectors and other things like that, I've been talking to people about the podcast. I've gotten, I would say, probably 7 to 8 interested people over the last 2 months that have wanted to be guests because they have different stories to tell, and it's with multiple different industries, not just one.
Absolutely. So moving on to our next topic. So this is something, for the audience that you don't know, Andrew's under the weather right now, so he hasn't been around the office. So we thought it would surprise him on the episode and basically let him know that we are actually moving offices. This is something that's been now in the works for about 2 weeks.
It's a long time coming, but it's finally, we're on the move. We're
Yes.
moving on up.
So we are actually moving. We've been in the process of moving for 2 weeks now, and we're going to be completing this process over the next couple weeks. So Andrew, I know this is the first time that you're hearing of this.
Right. That's actually crazy to think about. Can you give myself and the audience some more detail on, kind of how this all came to be? I mean, that's a massive transition, and it's funny because I remember originally when we first moved into our first office, and it's very funny, and I'm not sure if we told this story or not, but I think I used it as an example somewhere. It was Matt pushing, to have an office and me pushing against it as much as I could. I thought it was the worst idea possible at the time. Given I was just terrified of overhead and stuff like that, and it ended up working out, fantastic for us. So this time, Matt and I are actually on the same page. I'm incredibly excited, to hear about how this came to be.
So, for the audience, it is in the same building. We actually are just moving one floor up.
Moving on up.
Just a lot more space for us to kind of do our thing. And Andrew, I guess, you'll see it when you come back. I don't know, Joe, Kevin, you guys have anything to add to that?
Oh, well, I mean, Matt, you've enlisted me to give assistance with the new project, which is The Office. It's been a lot of fun to work on so far. I'd say probably my favorite part so far was painting the walls white and having the first coat of paint be as nice as it was. And I find that to be interesting, considering that there's a lot of work that has to go into it, and then right off the bat, we do the first coat of paint and it comes out fantastic. I guess that's a sign of things to come.
Absolutely.
That things are going to be amazing going forward.
Absolutely.
Even more so than that is the feedback that I've gotten from a couple of different people that I've mentioned it to. We're members in the Monmouth Regional Chamber of Commerce, and they have business after-hours events for a lot of the members. And I mentioned to their executive director, Therese, that we were going to be moving offices, and she immediately had the idea, alongside me, I kind of thought the same thing. In order to, I guess as a housewarming, to welcome us into our new office, they were going to have a business after hours for us at our new place, which I think that's going to be really cool. It's something that is a long time coming, considering our presence in the chamber is slowly being more known, and I think it's good for people to get to see our space because we're always going to other people. Now, for once, they get to come and see us.
And now we're going to have a lot of cool just sections in there. We're going to have a whole, painting of, the logos and a nice big conference room and the equipment section, which is going to have a whole charging board, this whole thing that we've been working on.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it'd be exciting to have more space and to just, like Joe said, have a place for people to actually come and actually be, you could actually host people in that space.
Of course.
So, and I think everyone, especially, now that the company's growing and there's more people coming on board, and it's obviously at this point seems to be more, almost more of a necessity than anything else. But it's going to be, amazing when it's finished.
Absolutely. And December 1st, save the date, because that is the official move-in date. All right, moving on to the favorite episodes from season 1 so far. So, Joe, you kind of did a poll. Do you want to get into that, or?
Sure, why not? So what I did is I sent out a poll to our employees, and they gave their feedback on which episode of the ones that we've done so far, not counting this one, was the best one. And after tallying the votes earlier today, having gotten enough submissions to really decide which episode is the best, 4 people voted for Building Your Entrepreneurial Empire as the best episode. That was 4 out of 13 votes. 3 votes went to Baseball and Business, which was one of I voted for that one. And then I think the other one that was before that was I forget which one it was, but it was definitely
Baseball and Business, probably?
Baseball and Business was second to Building Your Entrepreneurial Empire. I think the other one was Let's Talk Digital Marketing. So interestingly enough, some of the episodes in the latter part of the season ended up getting more votes, which is good. It shows how much we've grown. And I guess I could just talk about, while you have me on the microphone, I could just talk about why I voted for Baseball and Business. Obviously, I'm a little biased. I was on that episode. I'm a huge baseball fan. But as far as the discussions and the debates, it was a lively episode. It wasn't like we were half asleep throughout the episode. But yeah, it was a good time. And I mean, sure, our World Series predictions aged very, very, very poorly, considering the fact that when the episode was released, the Yankees were eliminated from the playoffs. But more on that next season. But yeah, I guess now just to ask Andrew, since we have you listed, what was your favorite episode?
So mine's going to be a little bit of a different take, simply because I can see these episodes through a different lens as somebody who was there. And I will tell you that the favorite episode my favorite episode, the one that I enjoyed working on the most, not necessarily the one that I think came out the best, but the one that was my favorite to work on, was definitely the episode that we did with the sales team. Let's Talk Sales. I thought we had a combination of amazing character for that episode, and we had actually shot those two after a very big company meeting and a lot of other things that had gone on that day. So we were all very well warmed up and acquainted with each other. And this isn't to say that we don't know each other well, but when you're around your friends or family, at first you're a little bit shy, maybe here or there. And then as time continues, everybody opens up. Although it was a very short episode, I do think it was probably my favorite to work on, and it was so much fun to produce. I don't know if that energy really shines through the way that it was, but at the time, it was great.
All right. Kevin, do you have a favorite episode, or would that be this one because it's the first one?
Well, that's what I said. It would have to be this one because this is one number one that I'm on, and that's really all I care about is me. No, I'm just kidding. But no, I mean, I didn't really have yet to have an opportunity to really experience all of the other episodes. So I guess the jury is still out as far as what mine was. Well, I will definitely have a favorite of season 2 though when that comes on.
And I'm sure you'll appear on many episodes there.
So Matt, what was your favorite episode?
My favorite episode, I think, would have to be episode 11 when we had Nick on, because it was a big day. That was a very big day too. Where kind of after the podcast, he kind of decided to come on board with Big Splash and partner with EDE, which we saw coming, but we didn't think it would kind of happen that fast. But I'd been working towards trying to be able to help Nick in his business for quite some time. It was very rewarding and just exciting. The whole team was excited that night. I think we did a great job, and he really enjoyed being on the podcast and us being able to hear his story. I feel like we're going to have him on a lot more episodes too. I'm sure, Andrew, you can kind of agree with that too.
Right, absolutely. That would have to be either my number 2 or... In reality, it was just such a very different episode too.
I know
that it's really difficult to compare it to the other ones that we've done.
Yeah. All right.
So before we get into our last topic, I have to go quickly change the cameras.
Yeah, no
so
worries.
this
We'll
is
cut here,
the
we'll cut here,
cut
just
sponsorship XYZ.
So before moving on to the next topic, we should have done this at the beginning of the episode, but I want Kevin to tell everyone a little bit about himself, just that way the audience can get to know him, because he's going to be on. This is not the only episode he'll be on, that's for sure.
Call my agent. But no, seriously, I've been in sales and marketing for quite some time. I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but I'm definitely the oldest one here by far. But I started out actually doing a lot of local TV work, and then I moved into doing producing television commercials. So I probably made about 300 television commercials back in the day, and then I just kind of transitioned into a sales role. I used to selling airtime on television networks. And then after a while, I just decided that I wanted to kind of move more into where everything was going these days, move more into a digital space with the digital marketing aspects, with everything that's kind of going on and how the world is going. So that was, about 7 or 8 years ago. Now I've found myself here at EDE. I'm very happy to be here. I'm very happy to work with, Joe and Matt, two great guys. And everyone else that I've met here has been really friendly and accommodating. And, and that's really the kind of environment that you want to work in, and the people that you want to be around. Believe me, I've had quite a bit of work experience, so I've been there in those, stuffy, not even so much corporate environments, but they're just not great places to really, spread your wings and do the things that you need to do. Not even just from a sales perspective, but from a creative perspective too. I think Matt and everyone else here really. Kind of like puts that vibe out, puts that direction out that, everybody here, needs to be creative. They need to do the things that they need to do. And it kind of really shows, throughout throughout all the people that you meet. And, I've only been here for a week now, so it's not like I have a tremendous amount of time here at the company. But, there are certain things that you don't really need to know. Be somewhere or have experience for all that long to really realize, and that's definitely one of those things, that the environment, the people that work here, and you can see the talent here from top to bottom. So I couldn't be happier to be here. I couldn't be more confident about going out and along with Joe and explaining to people and really selling people on the work that we do, because the work that we do is based on the talent of the people that work here. That's what it is. We don't make adamant objects. We're not making stereos. We're not trying to sell phones or anything like that. We're selling the creativity and the work and the digital marketing expertise of the people that work here, and that's really the product. And I couldn't have more confidence in the guys here. And, I think that, like I said, everybody pulls together and works on the same page. So I don't really think that there's not a lot that we can't accomplish here.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Joe, do you want to move us ahead into the next topic, which is looking ahead into 2021?
Sure. In 2021, which is the second year of the 2020s, I guess we could say. Now, we alluded to this earlier. A new season of the Everyday Podcast has been confirmed for 2021 with a release date to be determined. Probably, February maybe?
January, February.
Yep. So sometime mid to late winter 2021, we're going to be diving into 12 brand new, awesome episodes just as amazing as these. And not only are we going to be doing the podcast, studios will have been launched and in full force, ready to create and design and just do a whole bunch of cool stuff. And that way people will be able to see life through our lens, I guess, with EDS. And then, of course, with Everyday Espo, the flagship company within the Everyday brand, which I think we should start to say that we should start to use that description. I think it's a good one. Andrew, what do you think?
I think it's a good description, but those things may change as time continues,
Of
simply because
course.
the companies are going to grow parallel.
Hmm.
And although
Hmm.
Everyday Expo now is the biggest one, only time will tell, where everything goes.
Of course. But not only are we going to be doing business here in New Jersey, but Matt, where else are we going?
Florida, and we've mentioned that a couple times, I think, this season. Right, Andrew? We touched upon it in a couple of our episodes when
That's
talking
right.
about the Everyday brand. But for those of you that haven't seen those episodes yet, which if you haven't, I'm sure you should check out. But regardless, we've always had a focus on, opening up a Florida office. And now once we do that, that will be for both EDE and EDS. And for those of you that also don't know, we do have a partial team down in Florida already. So this is something we've been planning for a while now. And now that both companies are going to be launched and running, full force, and now we're moving into our new office, this is going to be my main focus. And also Andrew too. I'll be dragging him into that. Focusing on Florida in 2021. I don't know, Joe or Andrew, if you have anything to add to that, because I know you've been involved throughout this whole process. We've taken
Right.
how many trips down there to do this and that.
No, really not much to add for that other than the fact that I'm very excited for it.
And that's a big market that we're looking to splash into.
Mhm.
No pun intended, big splash. But anyways, last topic in looking ahead to 2021, which we have down. What does management look forward to in 2021? So, Andrew, I'll let you start with that.
Right, so I was just about to say I very much look forward to our transition into Florida, but there's really so many different things. Number one on my list currently, transitioning into 2021, would be the bigger projects. We're looking to kind of change some of the things up, within how we do things. I don't want to give too much information away. I'm sure that there can be an entire episode about some of the changes that we're making, but we're just going to have a different approach coming into this year for some of the sales that we do, for some of the marketing that we do for ourselves and stuff like that. This is all things that you'll be able to pick up on very quickly in the near future. I'm very excited to start implementing these changes. We talked about them for a long time. We'd studied these markets, we'd studied these other companies, and now is really going to be our opportunity to hit the ground running. On a more trivial side, I'm very excited for this new office.
Yes, I'm sure this is the first time you're hearing about it. I almost completely forgot. I was looking at the notes and I realized you're on the episode because my initial thought was like, well, I'm just going to surprise him when he's done, and then he comes home and he just walks into it. But I guess it kind of took a turn.
Mhm.
Kevin, you are a part of the management here at EDE and technically also EDS.
Yes.
So what are some of the things that you are looking forward to in 2021?
Well, I guess this is kind of the obvious answer, but I'm definitely looking forward to getting out there and helping to grow every aspect of the company as best as I can. I mean, me at heart, really what I am, I'm really a relationship builder, so I definitely look forward to that. Is to building new relationships with clients and prospective clients, because I believe that's how you may become sustainable, is through relationships. And that's really my focus and what I'm really wanting accomplish at EDE this year, is to really build new long-lasting relationships with people, even if they're not necessarily turn out to be monetary business relationships, because every direction you go, every time you lend a hand to somebody else, every time you give somebody else a piece of advice, that's always can be somewhere that can lead you in a direction of maybe finding a new customer. Or if people look at you as a resource for them, they're going to recommend you to people that they know. So, that's is something that can't be understated. So that's really what I'm looking forward to in 2021.
Absolutely. So what am I looking forward to in 2021? A lot of different things. I'm definitely excited for this new office. This has been a long time in the making, as everyone's kind of stated before. Definitely looking forward to those bigger projects. And I guess the biggest thing that I'm looking forward to is our emphasis on our own marketing, and with both ED and EDS, but specifically ED with the launch of our new website. We're going to be running our own digital marketing campaigns, kind of doing like a brand refresh for EDE, which is something that has also been in the makes for a pretty long time. So that's definitely the main thing that I'm looking forward to in 2021, along with all the new talent that we're going to bring to the team, and all the new people that we're going to meet, whether it be clients or staff members. Anyone else have anything to add to that?
I guess I could just say that as the team continues to grow and as we continue to get better, not that we're not good, but we're great as we are, but we're only going to get better. The only way we can
we're
look
always
is up.
learning.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Absolutely. All right, so moving on to our story/lesson of the week segment. So, Kevin, this is your first time being on the podcast episode.
Sure.
Usually, towards the end of the episode, if we have enough time, which today we do a little story/lesson of the week segment where each person kind of will go around the table. If someone has a story or lesson of the week that they would like to tell, then we let them tell it. But we'll kind of give you some time to think about if you would like to say one and what you would like to talk about. So we'll start with either Joe or Andrew. I would like to kick it off.
I guess I could go first because I've already got something in mind. So, as far as what really jump-started the sales machine for me this past summer, my grandpa was looking for a new car, and for the last 10 years, he has gotten cars from Seacoast Chevrolet over in Ocean, and being that we had done video work for them before, I figured, you know what, I'm going to, for once, not wear the sales hat to the dealership and instead do some scouting and maybe help my grandpa find a nice car. So I'm talking to one of the sales guys there, and I asked him, hey, do you know if Drew is here today? And I was told, oh, he's not working there. And when I told Andrew this, he was just as shocked as I was when I had originally heard that. However, the entire visit went well. I got to test drive a new 2021 Trailblazer, and it was a really, really nice car to drive. I drove it all the way to Matt's house and back to the dealership. And, I mean, with the test drives, you can take it, I think, probably up to 5 to 10 miles away from the dealership, as long as you bring it back, that is.
I hope you did, in one piece.
Yep, I brought it back in one piece. I got it there right before the rain started. So everything was good to go. I went with my grandpa to the dealership. Not too long later, I know for a fact, I had spoken to the new general manager when I was there the first time, and after meeting with him a second time and going through a proposal, I ended up signing him to a 3-video contract, which was really cool. And ironically enough, 2 of the vehicles we filmed the first month we were there were 2 of the vehicles that my grandpa was choosing between when we visited the dealership. Mm-hmm. And he ultimately went with the Trailblazer, and it was the exact Trailblazer that we filmed for our vehicle walk-around, which Seacoast, I believe, is put on their website.
So now he forever has this really cool video of his car.
Yes, absolutely.
Andrew, do you have a story/lesson of the week?
Here's an interesting one, right? So I've been away at Rowan University for quite some time now. I think the last probably 2 weeks, I really haven't shown up much at the office. A lot of it is obviously just, me studying and pursuing, my education as much as I am also, trying to expand and grow this business as best as I can, or, at least help. But the thing is that my team never really ceases to amaze me. And I mean that in a good way. Usually you hear that phrase in a bad way. But they genuinely, every single time, every single day, I hear some amazing thing that has happened. It'll either be Joe or Matt or somebody else from the team calling me and saying, hey, we just did this, we just did that. And it's really, really inspirational. So I would say surround yourself with people that inspire you to do better, inspire you to be a better person, that pick you up when you're down, not necessarily by reaching out to you and helping you out, but just by being themselves. I can always just look at the projects that my team has completed and how hard they work and how amazing all of these things come out. And I always feel inspired, to keep pushing and, to keep learning and, to just stay in a positive mindset.
Absolutely. Kevin, do you have a story/lesson of the week?
I do. I believe I've only been here for a week, so it's not like I have a tremendous amount here to kind of draw from when it comes to my experiences at EDE. However, I guess, everything, for me kind of goes through the, looking through things, from a sales perspective. And, I've done sales for a long time, and I just, there's some things that I've realized throughout the time that I've been in sales and working with other people is that, it's tough. Sales is a tough business. And I'm sure, Joe, I don't need to tell you that. But it's you put a lot of work into a lot of things, and lots of times, it doesn't really pan out to be, really anything. So there's an effort expenditure there that doesn't always pay off. But I think the thing is that kind of, and from my perspective, I've kind of looked at things through, as, karma. If you do the right things, if you're being persistent, if you're out there and you're giving it your all and doing the best you can, things that maybe even least expected might arise, where you maybe, didn't put a tremendous amount of effort in, but you put an effort in, sufficiently to try to make something materialize. And I think we had kind of a situation like that this week. Not to get into any real specifics, but we had some clients here that weren't on board with us for one reason or another for a while, and I think we started to make an effort to try to make sure that maybe we could try and bring some people back into the fold. And needless to say, the minute that we tried to put forth some effort into try and getting back in touch with some of these folks, boom, out of nowhere, they just reached out to us. So I think there's a lesson to be learned there that if you put the effort in, it's not always a straight line path from A to B. A lot of these sales paths are zigzaggies and around the bends and back and forth. But I think the key takeaway is that if you put the effort out, you're doing the right things, good things will happen and things will materialize. So that's my little story of the week.
Absolutely. I was actually going to touch upon that as my story of the week. But pretty much what Kevin said.
You got to see, Matt, that's my only story.
No,
I got nothing else to go with.
No, absolutely. But I guess, I'll think of a really good story for episode 1 of season 2, I promise. But to kind of finish the episode off, we'll give a couple shout-outs. First off to Kevin for being on his first episode of the EveryDay podcast.
Thank you.
First of many.
Yes. Second to Uncle Vinny, listening from Florida. Third to Andrew to being on the podcast. We had a very good, successful season 1 with my co-host. So Andrew, thank you for your hard work, dedication, and all the time you put into reviewing the notes. And Joe, thank you for operating the soundboard and everything you do for EDP. Nothing goes unnoticed. So I wanted to thank you for that.
A lot. Thank you so much. And thank you for letting me be back on the microphone to end the season.
Joe being Joe.
Absolutely. And last but not least, to the Shared Universe team, Ming and Mike. I mention it every time at each episode. Be sure to check them out. They run an amazing podcast studio, such great decor. And I know, Kevin, you're walking around here for 10 minutes kind of like, oh, look at that.
Yeah, you can spend an hour in here just soaking everything up.
Matt, can I also give a couple of shout-outs as well?
Yeah, sure.
First and foremost, I want to give a shout-out to our team at EDE and EDS for continually doing amazing projects and things like that. Keep up the good work and keep it up. We're going to be doing a lot of great stuff going forward. And also to the guests we had this season, Barter Saves, Tuxten, to Robert and Nolan for the Baseball and Business episode, to Kevin Couples, who was on the digital marketing, Nick from Big Splash. The list goes on. And we enjoy having so many different people of many different backgrounds come on here and we get to share their stories. And the only way we're going to be looking for next year is up.
Absolutely.
So,
and that's on all fronts.
Absolutely.
EDS, EDP.
Of the EveryDay brand.
Absolutely. And I guess to go along with the shout out to the ED team more specifically, a shout out to Kevin because we're all looking forward to having him on the team and see what he's able to bring here. We're just all very excited for that. So, Kevin, we're looking forward to everything.
As am I. This has been a great experience. My first podcast ever. So I can check that off the list.
Yeah. So for the audience, be sure to check out our website, which is everydaypodcast.biz. That's B-I-Z at the end. And be sure to follow us on social media. Our YouTube is The Everyday Podcast. Facebook is Everyday Podcast FB. And Instagram is Everyday Podcast IG. And be sure to check out the giveaway because, again, a week and a half from when we're filming this, but a week from when you're seeing this, if you're watching it when it's released, then the giveaway will be announced. And obviously, after it's closed, there's no more entering it. So who doesn't like free money? So I would enter the podcast. I would enter the giveaway.
Friday, November 20th. Make sure to check on our Instagram and Facebook page because we will be announcing the winner on that day.
Absolutely. And part of the reason I push it back is because who wants to end a giveaway on Friday the 13th?
Absolutely. 100% agree.
And lastly, thank you to the audience for tuning in. We've had some great feedback on season 1. Obviously, we kind of went into this with cold feet. We didn't know what to expect. We didn't know how the first season was going to go. We didn't even know what we were going to talk about back then. But things kind of took shape, and this is something me and Andrew kind of said in the first episode. Was one of the first things we said there was, we're just kind of going to experiment, see what the audience likes, just put our story out there, see what type of feedback we get, and kind of take it from there. So it's definitely been a great first season, and we're very much looking forward to season 2. When it comes to the podcast, it's not like something we dread, like, oh, we got to go record. Like, no, this is something we generally look forward to, and look forward to the end of the week. Usually not today. Today's Monday, but when we look forward to the end of the week when we will be recording. So thank you to everyone for amazing first season. We are very much looking forward to season 2, which you will be hearing about on our social soon, and we will see you in 2021. Thanks for tuning in.